In this video, I'm going to be showing from start to finish what it looks like to participate in one of these Amazonian frog poison ceremonies known as Kambo. And although I've been in these ceremonies a number of times now, this is the first time I've actually videoed one. So what I'm going to do is provide a voiceover and just talk through what is going on at each stage of the process. So what you can see here is the beginning of the ceremony, and I've walked over and sat with the shaman and we've discussed how much of the frog poison I'm going to take. The shaman is the guy on the left who's dressed in white. His name is Johnny, and I've worked with him on a number of occasions before. The guy in the middle is one of the staff members at Arcana. His name is Falcon, and that's me over there on the right. So just before we get too much into it, I'll just explain a little bit about what Kambo is. Kambo is a type of traditional medicine that is used as a kind of spiritual and also physical cleansing, and it's commonly bundled in as part of an ayahuasca retreat. It's often taken at the beginning of a retreat in order to cleanse you and get rid of all the kind of the toxins and get yourself in the right mindset for what is going to come later on in the retreat when you start doing things like ayahuasca. Now, there is a lot about Kambo that seems very bizarre to someone who's never done it, and in fact it's still pretty bizarre to me now. The first thing is that the way in which it's even applied. The way you take it is that they burn small dots into your arm with a glowing ember, and this kind of makes the skin blister up and then allows it to be peeled off to expose the raw skin underneath. And into this they smear this kind of frog venom paste, which then gets into your bloodstream. So even straight away, just the way you take it seems kind of pretty nuts. But then what's even more strange and what a lot of people ask questions about is, why do you even do this thing? Because as you'll see later on, the reaction that your body has to this medicine is to cause pretty intense physical discomfort, projectile vomiting, and just a general feeling of unwellness, which feels a lot like having an allergic reaction. You can hear the other people in the room around me throwing up, and in a few minutes that's going to be me, because I threw up a lot during this Kambo ceremony. So yeah, just to come back to think about why do it. The benefits are, firstly, there is this kind of sense of well-being that comes from it. There's this all over kind of bodily buzz to it, like a bodily high. And also along with that comes this pain-killing effect, where if you have any chronic pains, which I have quite a lot of, is that it will give you a complete holiday from those pains. And this can last for like a couple of weeks. So in my case, I've got a few places where I've broken bones or sort of damaged joints. And yeah, it will just completely wipe away those pains for the duration of the retreat. What we can see now is that Johnny is applying the Kambo paste into these burn marks that I've got on my arms. It's in there, okay, and I'm ready to go. And at this point, I've probably got about 30 seconds to a minute before the effects really kick in. So I just reposition the camera and then head back over to my mat. Just here in the frame, you can see a couple of my friends there from the retreat, and these guys have already had their Kambo treatment, so they're kind of in the process of it or coming through it. Just before it kicks in proper, you glug some more water down, and then sort of get your head over the big red bucket and get ready for the fireworks to start. Now, one thing they do as you're going through this process is that they will pour water over your head, because you'll start feeling very hot. One of the first effects that you feel is that the blood will start pumping to your head, and you get this kind of feeling of like doo-doom, doo-doom, doo-doom in your temples. And in order to moderate that, they pour cold water over your head, which helps it make it a bit more bearable. So yeah, so what's happening now is I will be feeling extremely uncomfortable. As I mentioned, my temples will just be pounding. It will feel something like a headache's coming on. It feels like your sort of nervous system is kind of shutting down. It just, all the sort of energy just drains out of you, and the nausea will just start coming over you in waves, and you can hear me now just retching. And here comes the first bit of vomit. And for this particular ceremony, I was just vomiting a lot. You can't see it too much because Johnny's in the way there, but there is a white bucket inside this red bucket, and I pretty much filled this thing to the top with vomit. So yeah, so Johnny's kind of singing to me, and he's pouring water on my head just to help it make it more bearable. But yeah, at this point I'm deep in it, and it's just, the nausea is just hitting me like a sledgehammer. I'm not going to lie, at this point in the process, what is going through my head is just, what am I doing here? Why did I do this to myself again? And really, you've got to think of this as a kind of no pain, no gain situation. It feels horrible when you go through it. It is just not pleasant by any stretch of the imagination. But once you're through it, the benefits of kind of this positive sense of well-being that you got, it is well worth it. And really this whole process, although it looks bizarre and it looks weird and it looks, uncomfortable, then it really is kind of like a 10-15 minute process. So like I say, it's no pain, no gain. You just bear with it and then you get the rewards at the end. So at this point in the ceremony, the Kambo was just ramping up and it felt like my head was going to explode. So what Johnny's doing here is washing the Kambo paste off my arm to stop any more of it getting into my bloodstream. And this will sort of level the experience out a bit. It doesn't completely stop the experience, and the head pounding and the nausea will continue for several more minutes. And you can see I'm still throwing up here and Johnny's still pouring more water over my head. You can see the couple of guys to my left, so obviously one of them is a fellow participant who's going through this, and the person who's facilitating is one of Johnny's sons. So Johnny comes from a family lineage. He's from the Matsis tribe, and he's here with his two sons, so there really is this strong sense of tradition being passed down from father to son. And because I've been visiting Arcana for a number of years now, then I've seen these guys kind of come into this craft and learn all these traditions from the father. And it's really beautiful to be able to come back and see them year after year. And you'll see a guy who's walking into the frame now in the blue shorts. This is another one of Johnny's sons, and he's going to take over facilitating the medicine with me as Johnny goes on to apply it to some of my fellow travellers. So at this point in the ceremony, I'm probably at a stage now where things are levelling out a bit, and the intensity is not getting any worse, but I'm still fairly deep in it. I'm going to have lots of nausea, and as you'll see, there's still plenty of vomit coming out of me. The kind of the pounding that I talked about my head, it, like I say, it levels out a little bit, and it kind of turns into this kind of overall buzzing sensation, and this is where it kind of begins to try to transition to something a bit more pleasant. Now, because you do so much vomiting and so much purging when you're on Kambo, then you might be wondering, like, where does all this come from? There's only so much vomit that you can do. And the reason that so much manages to come out of you is because before you can do Kambo, you have to drink quite a large volume of water, and then also this fermented kind of soup. I think it's called like this yucca soup. It's a kind of like starchy, potatoey kind of soup. So before the camera even started rolling here, you might have noticed a bit at the beginning that like everyone's kind of, the people you can see in the frame, we all look a little bit swollen around the tummy. It's because we've just drank this, I think it's 2 litres of water that we drank before this. So 2 litres of just normal water, and then probably about half a litre of this yucca soup. So you're absolutely swollen, you're just completely bloated with all this liquid. And then when these waves of nausea start hitting you, it just comes out, and you'll probably see it in a bit more detail now that there's nobody blocking the sort of frame. Just these torrents of white sort of, here we go, yeah, these torrents of white sort of fluid just keep coming out. And you can see these buckets that are at the front of the frame here. I pretty much filled one of these up to the top with this stuff. So I'm not sure what the traditional logic is here. I guess it's something to do with like the purging. You take all this stuff into you, it cleans you out, and then you purge it back out. And as I've mentioned a few times, it's not pleasant. It's not a pleasant, kind of the going through this. It is an ordeal. But with all this seems to be the kind of the balance with all these kind of traditional medicines. There's this kind of an ordeal for a payoff kind of situation. It's very similar with ayahuasca. You go through these kind of very deep introspective visions and all this kind of body load and discomfort, but you can come out with these amazingly beautiful feelings of communion with the divine. So yeah, there's a balance here. I think round about this point in the ceremony, I'm sort of coming more and more out of it now. I think I'm just still staying over the bucket because it kind of takes a while for your kind of nervous system to come back online and feel like you can properly move again. Also, I think, you don't want to move a little bit too early just in case there's a bit of this vomit left in you. So I'm just going to hang around for a bit. And I think I just sort of acknowledge to Johnny's son here. Yeah, I think I'm out of it now. I think I'm good. So then, you grab your towel, dry yourself off because you'll be absolutely piss wet through from all the water that they've poured over your head. And then you'll just slump back and just let your body just come back to some kind of baseline. So as with many of these kind of ordeal-based medicines, when you come around from it, you actually feel incredible relief just to be out of it. So yeah, I'm actually feeling sort of pretty good about this around about this point. But still, some of this nausea's coming. You see, I think there's a few more heaves and a bit more stuff comes out of me here. Yeah, it just keeps on coming for a while. But you do feel better for it, and like I mentioned, you feel physically cleaner. You start getting this kind of this body buzz from it, and yeah, so it's a kind of a weird thing. Although it looks bizarre, I can only imagine this looks completely absurd to somebody unfamiliar with it. Yeah, there is something worth doing here. Yeah, it sounds strange to say it as I watch this, but it's I would recommend Kambo as an experience. Like I say, it's not a pleasant experience, but it's definitely one worth checking out. And I'm particularly for someone like myself who has a lot of chronic pain, I am extremely grateful for the effects. And it really, we did this on the first day of the retreat, and it really set me up for the rest of the retreat. I just felt great. I felt, optimized for all the rest of the stuff that we're going to do, all the hiking, all the ayahuasca, all the sort of the riverboat trips. So yeah, it's I would recommend it. So I think that's pretty much coming to the end of this video now. If you watch this far and watch me throwing my guts up for the last 10 minutes, then thank you very much for watching. If you've got any questions about Kambo or going on retreat, put them in the comments below. And yeah, I will see you guys next time on Adeptus Psychonautica.